Ken, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Patrick.
Again, the reason that we're bringing Ken aboard here is to provide some insight and to, again, we preach all the time financial literacy and stewardship here at Guardian Mortgages, and we're here to pick Ken's brain in terms of some of the things that he can talk about and what's happening in the world today in terms of the financial industry. And Ken, as you know, was it 9 or 10 rate hikes last year? Inflation is an all-time high. You know, one of the things that we always wonder about is the news reports and recession and where we're going. What are your clients coming to you for these days? What are their biggest concerns?
That's a great question. Interest rates have more than doubled in the last 18 months. Last year, the stock market and the bond market were both down. But these are short-term events. I'm very lucky that my clients are able to focus long-term. And the questions my clients ask have never changed. It's three basic questions. The first question is, how much do I need to retire? That's a big question for everybody. Do I need $1 million? Do I need $2 million? How much do I really need to retire? And the simple answer is, it's not an amount. It's all about cash flow. You want to make sure that when you decide to slow down and retire, that the money coming in is at least equal to the money going out. And that's the bottom line. That's our focus, is the cash flow and making sure that you have that properly budgeted and you're able to have that security. The second question we get is, if I die tomorrow, is my family going to be okay? And it's a tough one, particularly coming through the pandemic. And one of the things that is probably startling for a lot of people is that just over 50% of Canadians have a valid will. And, this is kind of the starting point to make sure that everything is as they'd like it. So we start with that, make sure the documents are proper, and we make sure that if something happens to them, where will the money come from?
And that's a really funny statistic that hasn't changed. 51% of Canadians have a will, and I know that quite. It's a number that's near and dear to me with my work with a Canadian fintech called ReadyWhen, who put together a digital program to help with people's estate planning. But why is that? Why do you think that even a global pandemic could not change that statistic in terms of people preparing for the inevitable?
That's a great question. I ask it a lot, and it's a lot of reasons. People think it's too complicated. Early in their career, early in their family life, they say, well, we have nothing anyway. And then later on, before you know it, 10 years goes by, 20 years goes by. But the one thing that comes back again and again is that we just like to procrastinate. People think they have lots of time. I'm going to get to this. I will get to that program. I will get to that will. I'll get to that power of attorney. And we think we have lots of time, and we just don't. You have to get it done, put it in the drawer, and then it's done.
Yeah, sorry for cutting you off there, Ken. I know that you had another question that I think the third question that people ask you.
Yeah, the third question is, I always say, hey, listen, if you're not careful crossing the street tomorrow and you're lucky enough to survive an accident, are you going to be okay? And then they start thinking about, where will my money come from? If I can't work, what will my source of money be? And that's where we go through with them and make sure that there's protection in place for them, whether it's a disability program or a critical illness program. And then we ask them to think about combining that with the second side, which would be having available to them an emergency fund or a line of credit. In Canada, with most disability cases, they don't last more than 2 years, but it's being able to get beyond that period so that you can move on. And you don't want to be cashing in your RSPs. You want to make sure that those risk protection is in place, and you have that line of credit that you can draw on for the short term. So those are the things that have not changed over time. If I retire, how much do I need? Is my family going to be okay? And if something happens to me, where will my cash flow come from? Those are the same over and over again.